welcome back to my channel. Please remember to subscribe down below and leave a comment. So today we are going to be talking about childhood trauma. And childhood trauma comes from the experiences, the environments we are raised, and some of these things affect us they affect us in the journey through life. Some of these things affect the way we relate to people. They affect our relationships as grown-ups, the image or the view we have about ourselves is based on our childhood. So I am reading this book. Its title is A Child Called It. The author is Dave Puzzle. I hope you guys can see. And in this book, Dave describes the things he went through as a child, and how it has affected him as a grown-up, as a family man. He has been in and out of relationships. He has had to go through several divorces only because of the experiences and the environments he grew up in. He explains in a certain chapter that his mother once stabbed him. In this book, go read it. It's a very nice book. His mother once stabbed him. His mother used to burn him using a candle. He'd come home and his mother never used to give him food. So he'd go to the school cafeteria, steal food, and when he'd come home in the evening, his mother would force him to vomit that food, then eat it again. So those things have totally affected him as a grown-up. And there is also, as you can see down here, no, not here, as you can see, there's another version of this one. After he has written A Child Called It, there's a book called The Man Named Dave. In now that book, he explains how he healed from trauma, the things he had to go through. It's a very nice book. You can go and read it. So today we're going to be talking about childhood trauma, and some of these things are the things that you see, we, especially those who went to public primary schools, we always had these teachers who used to think that they know your future, they know your life, and they said bad things about you. Maybe they messed up with your self-confidence. They used to tell you you can't go anywhere. And it's funny how people or those teachers used to think that they know our destiny, they know where we are going, and some of these things affect us. And especially if maybe you used to be a big kid, or your parent used to be a little bit tough, so teachers used to use that against you. And these things, some as a young person, maybe if you went through a lot of rejection, and you see, when throughout this childhood period is when you're developing confidence, is when you're learning how to deal with people, learning how to deal with rejection, learning who you are redefining yourself. And so when some of these things are thrown to you, some of these things get to you and they hurt you. And childhood trauma is one of those things, because I've met people today who, you ask them about their childhood or their family, they don't want to say. You ask them about maybe how they grew up, and stories of growing up. The people will tell you stories, and you wish you grew up maybe in that family. And these stories get to you when you speak. I saw a post today from a friend of mine that was saying that I never grew up with an image of who I wanted to be. I never grew up with people around me who showed me what I wanted to be. I grew up with a perfect example of what I never wanted to be. Maybe you grew up in a family of drunkards, so you grew up knowing I never want to be. I met a child who is, last week in my field work, I met a child who is, I think he's 9, a very little boy, and I asked him why. So the father came in, and when he saw the father, he ran. He ran away. And when now the father went and the child came back, I asked the child, why did you see daddy and run away? He told me daddy drinks and he beats mom. And you see, that's a child, and he told me I will never drink. Even when I grow up, I will never drink. So you see, some of these things is, even as we say it's choice, some of these things can get to. This is a child who, he's only 9, he has seen war at home, he has seen the father who is a drunkard, so he doesn't even have an example of what maybe he wants to be. But at least he knows there is something I don't want to be. Maybe you grew up in a family of war, and that's a perfect example of what you don't want to be. So some of these childhood things we go through as child, and sometimes you don't even know it's childhood trauma. Sometimes you have no confidence, you have no zeal to attack life, and some of these things is the things you saw as a child. And When I was doing this video, my intention is because I have healed from childhood trauma, and it's something I'd want anyone who would watch this video to sit down and re-examine. How did you grow up? Was your family toxic? Were your teachers in school toxic? Have you healed from that trauma? Are you going around hurting people because maybe someone hurt you when you were young? Are you going around being abusive because you saw abusive people, or you grew up in an abusive family? Some of us today are addicted to drugs because that is the only thing you saw when you were young, and it gets to you even unconsciously. It gets to you, and you find yourself stuck in some of these things. So I'd want us, and anyone who is going to watch this video, or just sit down and reevaluate and think, as an adult now, as a big person now, how do the things I went through as a child, the experiences, the environment, am I a toxic person today because of the things I saw while growing up? So thank you. I will see you in my next video.